Hey, everybody. The Astros were kind of a big deal last night, so I was wrapped up in them as opposed to watching entire press conferences and everything like I typically do. And I figured I'd just do my rough draft format and go through CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryan's press conferences from yesterday with you guys. And then if I get around to it, repackage them with some video of various plays that they're talking about. I am very excited to hear CJ weigh in on the Dalton Schultz touchdown because I know that something that I had accredited to Bobby Slowick may have very well been just a CJ Stroud call, which is really impressive. So I'm looking forward to that and everything else he has to say, as well as probably if I have time, I want to watch the NFL.com preview of the Saints game and then scroll through a little bit of the news and maybe talk a little bit of Astros too. Justin Verlander said some things that I feel justify some of my most strongly held beliefs about the Astros for the past 7 seasons. And I feel like he's got a little bit more credibility than me when it comes to saying these things. So I'm excited about that. So let's start in on CJ's press conference. And he was asked on if he would call himself a perfectionist.
Hey CJ, Nico was talking about all the little things you do behind the scenes to get better every week. Would you call yourself a perfectionist?
Uh, a perfectionist? Yes, I would. It's hard to live like that, but I just put pressure on myself and just try to be the best prepared as I can. So, yeah, I would say I'm a perfectionist, but it's hard doing that. Uh, I'm really hard on myself, which is a good thing, but I'm trying to be more accepting of my flaws and like plays I don't make. But at the same time, I'm not. I'm a perfectionist. I can't even sugarcoat it. But yeah.
What are some of the challenges of the Saints
Wait, hold on a
defense? It
second.
seemed like one of the better defense.
All right, so he's a perfectionist. Like I'd be worried if my quarterback weren't a perfectionist. I think honestly, the biggest thing I worry about with perfectionism is how it affects other people. If you're a perfectionist and you tend to expect your level of perfection out of others, that can be very good. I played for Tom Coughlin, who is very much like that. It can also grind down on the people around you if you don't understand people's limitations and weaknesses or expect everybody to be just like you. And I don't worry about that with CJ at all. He does not seem to be that type of guy that doesn't get it. I think attainable perfection has always intrigued me. Coughlin used to talk a lot about how you're always striving for perfection. You'll never get it, but you got to strive for it, and basically hate yourself for not achieving something that's unachievable. I do like the idea of as many places as you can engineering attainable perfection, like doing, can you get 100% of the items on your checklist done that day? Can you execute up to a certain level in practice every day, or throughout a week? Like attainable perfection. I think CJ's got that balance. Next question. He was asked about some of the challenges that the Saints defense poses this week.
Yeah, I definitely think they're definitely top five defense, all around, run game, pass game. They do everything really well. They play as one. You can tell they play as one unit. Their DBs are really good. Number one, Marshawn Lattimore, Tyrann Matthews, really smart. I think they're getting the other safety, number 9, back, or is another 9, number 6. Um, I think his name is Neil, something Neil or something like that. Really good player. D-line is really stout. Cam Jordan is really good. Brian Brzee, who I actually played in the All-American Bowl, I think, in high school. Somebody I got to know over the recruiting process and then over the draft and everything. Really good player. So all around, man, they're really stout. Demario Davis is the head of that. He's a great player. Former teammate of mine, Pete Warner, their will linebacker, very athletic, very good with getting his hands on the ball. So, man, we got to be on our A game. Definitely a great defense.
Okay. He's doing the little Sean McVay thing. I like this. I like coaches and players who do the Sean McVay thing where you recite various things that you might not be expected to remember. People, The older I get, the more I wish I'd shown off in my youth. I was always raised to be like as modest as possible, and like guilty about calling any attention to yourself. I feel like you should ostentatiously display anything that sets you apart as much as possible, unabashedly. Screw it. Like, what are you trying to be a nun or something? No, we don't need no nuns or monks on this football team. The number 6 is who he's talking about. I can't remember his name, but it's definitely not the name that he said. He came back from a DUI arrest. So I don't know. Is that bulletin board material? I don't think so. Brian Brissy, I'm intrigued on going and watching him some, because he was linked to the Texans that time as a potential defensive lineman. Obviously, with Will Anderson going, it wasn't going to be Brian Brissy, but Will Anderson too. I've been digging into Will Anderson. The video is far too long. It's too boring. I'm trying to cut it down. I've got some thoughts on Will Anderson we'll talk about later. Next question was about his relationship with former teammate and Saints wide receiver Chris Olave.
Speaking of really good, Saints have this wide receiver who we know very well.
He's all right. No, I'm just kidding.
Chris Olave is so good. How can you guys still have communicated?
Nah, Chris is that guy, man. He's definitely, in my opinion, a top 5 receiver, top 10 receiver in this league. He shows it week in and week out. I think defenses are trying to take away his big playability, so they often double him or back up to not give him those shots. But man, I think he's very slept on with his route running. He has great routes, very clean body language, gets in and out of his breaks really fast, and he makes every route look the same, which is really hard on DBs. Plays at one speed, and that's just really fast. And I think his hands are underrated. He catches everything. Like, just give him a chance. He gets his hand on, he probably gonna catch it. So, yeah, that's my guy, man, for life. He's a good dude. Still talk to him every once in a while, and excited to see him. I think I seen him when we played in preseason, so it'd be cool to play against him.
The only thing I worry about with Chris Olave is the big brother aspect there. He talks about some of those older wide receivers that have gotten drafted in the last couple of years, almost like they're his big brothers that took care of him while Justin Fields was starting and, gave him life lessons and all of that. Just don't be talking on the phone with him too much, CJ. These guys have a way of whittling information out of you. Bill Belichick was a master of that, as we know, whittling information out of their guys. The defense. Honestly, the Texans defense, I felt, was more impressive than I gave them credit for the first go around. I do think that they made life more difficult for Desmond Ridder than I think it looked at first blush. Desmond Ridder he made some good plays. The biggest issue was the defensive line just didn't make him uncomfortable. DeMeco tried to play back and drop as many guys as possible into coverage, something that the Falcons already also did versus CJ, and they just weren't able to make him uncomfortable. So the pass rush has got to get going here at some point. Next question.
CJ, you played so well so far this season, but what did you learn in that late touchdown drive?
That is Matt Musel asking him, what did you learn about yourself in the fourth quarter touchdown drive against the Falcons?
Take a little more off the clock. Nah, that's okay. All jokes aside, just learn. This league is what you make it. Is what you put in is what you get out. I put in a lot of work throughout the week with my teammates. We do an extra 2-minute drill, 4-minute drills. We have things called bleed situations where we want to end the ball at the half, have the ball at the end of the half, or points. So a lot of different situational things that we've been doing since OTAs, and the fruit of your labor is starting to show up on publicly when it was just private for a long time. Like the saying, whatever is done in the dark comes to light, is true. So there's a lot of work that's been put in from not only myself but from my teammates. And then I think we all trust each other. That's something I think pops up on our film, like the trust I have in our receivers and our O-line. Our running backs have trust in how they're going to block. We all play as one. I think that's something that pops up on the film. If you cut on our tape, is how we all want to play for each other. So that last drive kind of was a testament to that. And hopefully, if we get put in that situation again, we do the same thing or even better. And hopefully, we don't get in those situations anymore and just handle business. before that. So it was good to see it on tape, though.
Um, I'm going to disagree with one minor aspect there. Is that I think that I agree with everything CJ is saying there, as long as you're talking about the passing game. The run game right now is a disjointed mess. It really is. There's just too many instances where it looks like the old Texans run game, where guys are a little bit uncertain about what they're supposed to be doing. Guards are pulling and looking unsure about where they're supposed to go or how they're supposed to block the defensive end. At times, Damian isn't following his blocking. I'm having a hard time blaming him too much because of the aforementioned sloppiness. There's just not a lot of substance to it right now. It looks like they've put a lot of work in on the passing side of things, and they don't have nearly the same level of precision on the run game. So they've got to get better at that, because like CJ's playing great, but he can't be converting 3rd and 10 all the time.
Robert was said that he told the huddle. You told them what they were going to do with the Falcons. You told Dalton, be ready. You told what at that point were you seeing in the Falcons defense settle out that you knew what they were going to do?
Oh, okay. So this is reading from the transcripts. This question was on what he saw from the Falcons defense on the last drive of the game that told him that Dalton Schultz would be open.
I don't want to give out all my secrets, but I just had I think it's like a gut feeling that you get like in between the games. So me and Bobby had a conversation on the sideline about like a certain route that we wanted to do, and we didn't have it in at practice. I just felt like in those big time situations, the guys that Jesse Bates is a great player, like super good, really instinctive. Like he almost picked me off on the he like did some weird 360 turn. It's the first time I've seen that, so now I got it in my bank, and hopefully he don't ever get me again. But playing against him like keeps you honest, and I knew that he was going to try to make the play of the game and try to take it away. But like previous film study I was watching film on like a big time 3rd down situation, and just seeing that they're in like this quarters matchy like cover 4 look, and I told Dalton to do a certain thing in his route that I thought would get us not only the 1st down but a touchdown. So we were on the same page, and I'm literally trying to like break down exactly what I want from him in the huddle. And at first I don't think it registered, and then he was like, "Okay, I get it." So Dalton's really smart and made a hell of a route. But yeah, man, just being instinctive, just trying to put my guys in the best position to make plays and win games. And that instant, like it was really special. And Bobby and them were really happy on the sideline, and he was a part of that too. Talking on the sideline with him, I told him that I was thinking about doing it, and he was like, "Man, if you feeling it, go ahead and make a play." So made the play, and is what it is.
Okay, all right. That's really cool, because of those of you who saw it when I was watching the highlights, I kind of did a primitive breakdown because I don't have the Madden drawing stick or whatever. That they'd shown this route combination a couple times before, where Dalton Schultz runs an in at about like 8 to 10 yards. John Mechie runs an out, and then another receiver would run a curl. So those 3 receivers showed that look a couple times. And a couple times in the game, they went to Dalton Schultz on the in. So on that touchdown, they ran the exact same combo, except Dalton Schultz, as he starts to go in to make his in cut, Jesse Bates starts to jump the route. Because Jesse Bates is like, as he was saying, super aggressive, wants to make plays. He'd been close. He picked off Bryce Young earlier in the year. He wants to eat rookie quarterbacks like their food, and they just duped him. They baited him. It was really, really cool. And I thought that would have been engineered in by Bobby Slowick. The fact that it sounds like it came from CJ is pretty cool, because like that's the scheme married up with improvisation in backyard football. That's the kind of stuff that really good quarterbacks like Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and those guys do. So that part's really cool, and that's understanding the psychology of Jesse Bates, understanding the defensive look that they got, and what the Falcons had done previously in 3rd and long situations, setting it up early in the game. Like that's the stuff that has all these other QB gurus out there just absolutely gushing about CJ, because he does it, and he doesn't just have the idea, he knows how to execute it with precision. So basically, they need to turn him loose on the run game now.
You were in the locker room and it was three of your offensive linemen and you were standing there talking to them and y'all were talking about certain things that happened during the game. How hard is it for you to be able to, flush that loss out of your system so quick to be able to move on, but also still take in what just happened?
So the question is on the difficulty of flushing and moving on from a loss, while also trying to hold himself accountable and seeing where he can improve. And I want to read some of your comments about the last play after this answer.
Yeah, it's a mixture. I think, like I've told y'all before, like by Monday or Tuesday, I'm usually over the game and on to the next one. And in this league, that's what you have to do because the next opponent is just as good or even better. So for us, like we were like, dang man, we did some special things. We need some things that we need to clean up. We shouldn't have been in that situation anyways. We should have scored more points. And it is what it is though. Like now we got to move on and play the Saints and take the good things that we did and make those better, and take the bad things that we did and fix those things and play solid, sound Texan football. So there was some good things that we talked about in that moment, but definitely want to get the win in that. And I feel like the reason we didn't win was because we didn't score on offense enough, and we need touchdowns in this league, not field goals. So
I do worry, and I'm going to be like a grumpy old man here. Like I do worry that I don't want anybody to fall into the trap of, golly, look at how much better we are than we thought we were going to be. And gee, it's really cool. Listen to all these nice things people are saying about us, but like forgetting that you lost. I don't worry about that. That's a knee jerk reaction that I think most people have. If we start to see signs or evidence of it, we'll freak the hell out. Somebody had said, Arthur said, we want the long form, unexpert. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Will Anderson video. I will, because I want to be. I'm not trying to be an asshole. Like I'm not trying to be. There's things that he needs to work on that I think he could do. That he's showing signs of working on it, but he's just not quite there in some respects. And I think there are reasons for it. Like I'm not freaking out about it at all. I just think that some of these stats that you see from ESPN about the win rate and all these other really like highly productive numbers that you see from some of the advanced stat services don't seem to make a lot of sense based on what I'm seeing on film. But anyway, that's another video. I heard a comment on another YouTube channel that CJ drew up that play in the huddle. Right. He drew up that adjustment, and the CJ's comments, this is from yesterday, kind of shed some light on it. But that route combination, like honestly, I'm both impressed that CJ decided to have Dalton Schultz do the double move, but I'm a little upset that it wasn't engineered into the offense. I really had hoped that it was Bobby Slowick deciding to do that. I remember because I got super. I saw it on Sunday night. I went through and I cut up all the third downs, and I had seen that route combo a couple series earlier on a play that was broken up, and he also run it because I saw JT O'Sullivan later this week do it. They did it on another play, so like that was all set up in there for the taking. So who knows who came up with the idea exactly, but it was good. He's going to be special. Treat him right. McNair and company. That look, his agent's David Mulligata. He's going to be treated right. He's going to be treated painfully correct at some point. If he keeps like on this trajectory, it's going to be a sick contract, and hopefully we'll be at the point where everybody is 100% cool with it. I think that they practice more on the option play and perfect it like Schaub did. It would put another arsenal of the offensive attack. What do you think? Okay. There's one play in the game. There's a run game. I think I've gotten it a cut up that I was going to play after the DeMeco press conference where they try to hold the defensive end on the backside using a zone read look, and it just doesn't work. And and then you add these Tank Dell runs where Tank's in the backfield. They're focused way too much on being clever right now. They need to get the nuts and bolts, bread and butter run plays down before they try with all this clever stuff, because they're going to continue to get tackled in the backfield. Plays will be dead in the water as long as there are things like, wide receivers kind of fumbling around with what they're supposed to do in the backfield. Titus Howard looks a little bit lost in the run game at left guard. I'm really struggling to understand exactly why they're doing that. George Fant and Dalton Schultz got destroyed at various times in the run game on the right side. Various other guys got destroyed in the run game. It's really bad right now. I don't know. Now, if you're talking about the bootleg, then yeah, I think that can be a staple, and they've had some success with it. And I just think sometimes though too, they're calling the bootlegs. You got to first, to make the boot really effective, you'd like to also have the inside zone run and outside zone established, so that defensive end is chasing hard on the backside, and then you can really bait that backside defensive end to it. They just haven't established that yet, so it's I'd like them to get like 4 or 5 bread and butter plays right before they move on. Next question is on if drawing up the route to Dalton Schultz was a product of his natural ability or a sign that he has a true grasp and understanding of this offensive scheme.
CJ, you just kind of going through that, what you were telling Dalton to do on that touchdown. Is that just you balling, or is that maybe a testament of the growth that you've had in this offense? Is that a moment you look back on and say, you know what, the offense is clicked for me now, and I felt comfortable enough to do that?
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both. I think I'm starting to get a little comfortable with this offense and playing fast and giving input to Bobby and our coaches on the offensive side of the ball. And I think now they're starting to trust me with the ball. And I think when you're doing that, it's a recipe for success. And that's how big-time plays and big things happen in a season, is when coaches and players finally mesh and trust each other. Because it doesn't just happen right away, and that's just life. So, but for me, man, it's just as quick as you get comfortable, you can get uncomfortable in this league. So I'm keeping the pressure on myself. Like y'all was saying, I'm trying to be a perfectionist in everything that I do. I want every rep at practice. I want to do a full speed. I don't want to take anything off. And I think like back to my routine is what's going to get me to play better and be better in certain games and situations. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Just getting to feeling like myself again, playing this game at a high level really fast, and helping my guys around me. I think that's my biggest job, is to make everybody around me better. So a little bit of both.
Real quick comment before we get to their couple more. Let's see. There's one about the PFF. So the PFF win rate seems more realistic, putting Anderson at a 16.4%, which ties him for 16th amongst edge defenders. Not sure how optimistic that makes us. Yes, real briefly, I think that there are times right now where Will Anderson doesn't trust his own speed. You don't really see him getting washed around the quarterback on the outside of the pocket, which is good, because like that's a huge problem. The Texans used to have, even when their defense was good, sometimes they'd have a problem. Their defensive ends just getting pushed past the quarterback on the backside and just trying to swipe in for to cause a turnover or something. Like that's the worst way to lose contain, because you're just helping create a nice little pocket for the quarterback. Plus, you're blowing contain as you run past the quarterback. Will doesn't want to do that, so I think sometimes he just doesn't trust that he can turn the corner, and he turns back into like a bull rush or a speed to power. And at that point, it's just a stalemate. So there's some things that he's doing with his hands, trying to forklift guys. And to combat that, I think there is just a little bit of just turning it loose and trying to hit the corner and beat guys with speed first and foremost, and then work your counters after that. So he's very close. It's just it's this curse of the conscientious. Like the conscientious pass rusher sometimes limits himself more than he needs to, because he's trying to do everything perfectly. So it's a good problem to have. It's a much better problem to have than he's just some jerk that doesn't care about the rest of the team or the scheme of the defense. Because he's doing some great things against the run.
Hey, CJ, two-part question. One, what did you know about John Mechie before you got here? And two, what has it been like just getting to know him personally as a team?
Yeah, imagine my
Basically just asked what's it been like getting to know John Mechie.
God, man, dude's hilarious. Like, that's my brother. Somebody who reminds me of like the type of attitude and swag we walked around with at Ohio State. Just like, man, we can't be like messed with. Like, nobody can be on this field with us and even touch us. And he walks around with that swag that I remember, like from my receiver room back in college. And I think everybody in our room now has it. And I think Mech, like, kind of just naturally, like, since he was born, he knew that he was gonna be great at something. So I think it's really special that we're starting to give him the ball some more. I think he deserves it. He's putting it on film time and time again of just being open, being sound, being crisp, working really hard, and he loves playing football. Like you can just tell on how he blocks. So man, it's been a blessing to work with Mitch, and we spend a lot of time off the field as well, just chilling together as boys. So Mitch is my brother, man.
The one thing that's cool about Mechie that I think could help him thrive in this defense, two things. One, he looks like he really enjoys blocking, and that's a big part of it. I think he can look at Tank Dell and he can look at these other guys and see that he's not quite cut from the same height, weight, speed, agility. Like there's nothing that really makes him flash athletically. Where obviously he's bigger than Tank Dell, but Tank Dell has that just incredible athleticism. Nico has that incredible size. Mechie and giving a damn about blocking, that's huge in this offense. But then also his willingness to really refine his route running and be a perfectionist in that regard. That's something that Bobby Slowick's really going to like, and that CJ has an appreciation for the precision parts of this offense. He's going to continue to get opportunities that way, and I think this might end up being a perfect match for John Mechie. I could see him going to some other schemes where it's not quite as detail oriented, and offensive coordinators might get frustrated with the perceived explosiveness or something. And it's just, I don't think it's going to be an issue with Mechie here.
You and Tank, and with the friendship and the connection on the field, how tough is it to not have him out there and just adjust to having other receivers and using other guys incorporating him?
Yeah,
You asked about. Let's see. Oh, how difficult is it to not have Tank Dell on the field, and how's he going to go about incorporating others?
tough. I wish Tank was out there, man. He's definitely one of our best receivers. A great player, and me and him have special future to come. So, but this just like somebody goes down, next man up. Somebody else got to be ready, and I feel like we answered the bell when it came to that on Sunday, and now we got to do it again. And I mean, I think maybe even Tank might play. I don't know. I'm not sure what's really going on. So you never know what can happen. He might be able to play. So whatever happens, though, I know whoever steps up will be ready.
I feel I don't know if he was trying to cover himself there or not. The Tank Dell, this is my completely 100% unscientific, only knowing a smidgen about any of this, but I worry about smaller guys with concussions the same way boxers and combat fighters who are smaller tend to have more issues from concussions. And so I don't know. I don't know how much body size has to do with it, but that's just my knee-jerk reaction is like, all right, let's be sure we protect the little fella as much as possible. Then to be fair, like a small boxer is way smaller than Tank Dell. Tank Dell's small as football players go, but Tank Dell's not small by boxer standards. So
Earlier you were asked about, knowing the offense and, being able to control the offense. When, as a quarterback, when do you know that it's, okay, now this is my offense. I know exactly what to do, exactly where everybody should be and how to lead that offense.
That's a great question.
I couldn't hear it quite on the transcript. It says on what he knows as a quarterback that the offense is that the offense is his to lead and take ownership of.
Me personally, I think it's a certain look you get in the huddle from like vets and guys who've done it and been there before. Like for me in college, like I remember starting off, we were really good and we ended up losing to Oregon, and I still played decently in that game, played pretty well, and I remember like still getting hate from it, and guys like would like just rally around me, and I was like, all right, man, like this is my offense, I got this. And then now, like in this offense, like when I get in the huddle and I'm saying the plays, like guys are looking me right in my eyes. Like it feel like they trust me more than they did maybe in the preseason or like week 1, week 2. So I definitely think like when you put it on the field, that's when like guys in the building and the organization and front office, the coaches, the players, like everybody, even the chefs look at you different. So. For me, like I just want to keep building trust and keep putting it on the field and keep playing well, because I know I can and I have that confidence in myself. But just as quick as you get comfortable and want to think that your stuff doesn't stink, that's when you get shot. So, or
That's when the chef starts giving you the side eye.
or make a mistake that you shouldn't make. So for me, I'm just staying on the little details and get better every day. But yeah, I think that's what I've been feeling, just more trust from everybody.
Yeah, the chef looks at you differently. There's something about there's something about the people in the cafeteria and everything when they start to give you a certain level of respect, like you're an elder citizen. It's pretty cool. You feel like it's like you're in a mob movie and you get like extra. They got your food waiting for you when you go in there and everything. Obviously, CJ is a really good quarterback, gets that a lot earlier, but veteran players get that same treatment too. Just like all the support staff treats you, they treat you like you're an older gentleman, almost like an esteemed older gentleman, and it's nice. And then you're done playing football, and all of a sudden you're just a bum again, like the. Let's see. Okay, Life of Colby. Mechie's a good run blocker. He played defense in high school. You didn't see that hit he put on that guy from Auburn? Look, Life of Colby. I can't be responsible for explaining as I'm sitting here and talking about what a good run blocker or what a good blocker John Mechie is. I can't be responsible for going through and explaining every instance in which he's demonstrated his good blocking. Okay, suffice it to say that I'm impressed with John Mechie's blocking, and leave it at that. All right. I am sitting here saying Mechie is a really good blocker, and you're asking me to cite every instance of it. I will not do it. I won't do it. Let's see. Seth loved wide receivers blocking as much as I love tacos. That's right, Mike. I do, damn it. I love wide receivers blocking more than a Whataburger. Shows the buy-in. Yeah, the buy-in is huge. We had one of our listeners on Payne and Pendergast was texting with us. He was a college wide receiver, and he talked about just being in a wide receiver room that really starts to take it on as their identity that they're going to be good blockers, and it's fun. George Kittle is a great example of that. Like, Kittle was not born the blocker that he is. There's a really good article out there about when it clicked in him that he could do this, and it's one of those things. It's like so much. There's so many things in life that you can get good at just by virtue of other people not actually paying attention to it and putting all that much work into it. Like in real life, like listening skills, conversational skills, various things like that. Like, nobody actually works at it. So if you put a minimal amount of effort into it and you actually read up on it or take a seminar or something, it's incredible how much it helps you. And you become really good at something that like a lot of other people would love to be good at, but they just never think to work at it. And like wide receiver blocking, tight end blocking, I mean, it's kind of pathetic that tight ends don't even think about it anymore, but it's the world we live in, my friends. Yes, I wasn't actually mad at you, Colby. You know that. Yes, thank you. Dalton can't block for. Okay, that's part of some of the run game. I feel disgusted with myself because I looked at Dalton Schultz, and I think in Dallas he did improve as a run blocker or as a blocker in general over the course of his time in Dallas. I don't know what's happening now. Maybe it's just a matter of him not being comfortable in this scheme, or he'd been comfortable in Mike McCarthy's scheme. There are some common elements with both West Coast offenses, but he needs to get better than where he is right now. That's one of the things that's making it all disjointed. Dalton Schultz says he was intimidated to block NFL players coming in the NFL on deep slants. Yeah. So, all right, let's listen to DeMeco. Oh, there's one more. On if they're close to running back Dameon Pierce having a breakout game.
I hope so soon, man. Yeah, he's running really hard, so just got to be more sound from me calling the plays to executing it. So it should be soon. Yeah, DP's a great back. So, all right, man.
Okay, so he's asked on what makes the Saints so good on all three levels of defense.
Saints defense is really tough unit. They're top 5 in probably all statistical categories. Just starting with their defensive line, it all starts there. Physical front, long guys, they set the edge, they all hunt, they run to the ball fast. Second level guys, smart players, DeMario, Warner, very smart players at the second level linebacker spot, make a lot of plays, and they play physical brand of football, and that's what Dennis is known for. They've done it for a long time. Then you talk about their back end and with the coverage, tight coverage across the board, starting with Lattimore, really tough corner. plays the ball really well, is going to be competitive at the catch point. They've done a really good job of playing defense this year, and that's been the strength of their team.
I think one thing that we saw last week, CJ did a good job, I think, diagnosing and understanding some of the more complicated coverages that the Falcons did, some of the blended coverage where they'd play man underneath, but with a high shell to prevent the deep ball. It wasn't always, there were moments where he just genuinely didn't have anywhere to go with the ball. I think the thing that flummoxed him the most was when when the Falcons dropped 8. When they would rush 3 and drop 8, and this is very common with younger quarterbacks. We saw Tom Brady kind of have to climb this or clear this hurdle when he was a younger quarterback, and not even that young, but when the Saints, when the Jets started doing that, they used to make him really uncomfortable. So I think that's CJ's next obstacle. He's probably going to see it again this week, and it's something he's definitely working on, which is cool because we've kind of seen him get presented with a problem and then fix it within a couple weeks. So as you start to see 3-man rushes, when your defense rushes 3, I know you get angry, but just you only notice it when it doesn't work. Nobody notices when their team is rushing 3 and it's working. It's when it doesn't work and you look back and you're like, why the hell are they only rushing 3? It can be very effective. It can be very effective if you know what you're doing. I don't know. He's asked on navigating looks after the snap with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, with CJ, and he's learning, he's growing every year, and that's every day, every chance he gets, and you see how teams try to attack you, right? It started off with a lot of blitz coverage last week. So it wasn't so much the blitz. It was a drop 8 coverage, changing the picture post-snap, and that's somewhere he has to learn and has to grow from, and it shows that teams respect him. When you do that in coverage, teams respect what he can do at the quarterback position and the plays that he can make. And it's just an adjustment where he has to learn from it and grow, right? How do you make plays when the picture change, when the coverage change? How do you make plays when they're blitzing you? And that's just all growing, developing as a young quarterback. He'll continue to get better at that.
It is, I mean, in a lot of ways, what he saw last week and what he's seen progressively more of, it's a sign of respect. And you can think back to, when various other young quarterbacks have started for the Texans, and Case Keenum was like this. When everything is vanilla and the opposing defense is saying, all right, let's just see what this kid can do, young quarterbacks tend to, guys can do a pretty good job of it. But then as defenses realize that, they start to ramp up the intensity and the complexity. And CJ has really passed those tests so far. I think that Tank Dell leaving the game obviously added an element of difficulty to it. If he's not in there this week versus this defense, we're going to see, in some respects, maybe the biggest test he's had since the Ravens. And I would say, because the Ravens especially, CJ and a lot of the other young guys were really adjusting to life in the NFL, and they didn't even know what they didn't know at that point. Now he's got more of an idea. He's got more of a clue, obviously, of what he's doing. It's just a matter of, how is he going to adjust without Tank Dell? And will that make that big of a difference? That's Brooks Cabina sounding like he's asked, according to the transcripts, on how DeMeco prepares the linebackers for all of the motions, the pre-snap motions that the Saints go through.
Right, when it comes to motion and those things offensively, right, try to put our defense in as many stressful positions as we can in practice, right, trying to change the picture for those guys, making them communicate even when teams don't motion. We add motion to try to help them. So when it does happen, no one is surprised. And the biggest thing on defense is communicating. And we try to make sure it's not on just one guy of communicating. It's on all 11 guys of making sure we're on the same page. I told them it doesn't matter if we're wrong. If all 11 are wrong and on the same page, then we're right. And it's been the message this week, is just making sure all 11 guys are on the same page, all 11 are talking, and we've started off the week with a really good practice at communicating today.
That's kind of on the same lines of, a great plan poorly executed. What is it? A bad plan well executed is better than a great plan poorly executed. When he's talking about everybody being on the same page, even if you're wrong. I remember watching with Wade Phillips, and I know I've told this story before to you guys, but bear with me. If Wade Phillips and I were watching back when, what was the name of it? Oh, damn, the old Astros station that I worked for 2 years. CSN Houston. When CSN Houston was there, and Wade and I were on a show together, one of the Texans safeties had screwed up. I think it was DJ Swearinger, and I was asking, or excuse me, one of the cornerbacks had messed up, and DJ Swearinger was the safety. And I asked Wade about exactly why he thought the cornerback screwed up, and he said, "Well, ultimately, it's up to the safety to get everybody right." I put that mental error on the safety. The cornerback lined up wrong for whatever reason, but the safety can see that, and he's got to make it right. If there's not enough time, he's got to swap responsibilities or what have you. So, like, that's the kind of real practical stuff that obviously DeMeco understands and gets. And they just, much like the run game and the offense, there's a few things defensively. And we saw it in the pre-snap a couple times in the game where linebackers were arguing with each other a little bit, or, trying to jostling around at the snap to try to figure out whose responsibility was what. We got to clean that up a little bit. I think that Toa has gotten better and flashes more in a positive way than a negative way. He's still adjusting to the speed of the NFL a little bit, and he's still adjusting to having to have his head on a swivel all the time. But the trajectory is still climbing, so I'm feeling better and better about him every week.
Right, as a rookie linebacker, we ask guys to do a lot in coverage, and it takes time. And Henry has done a great job with the things that we've asked him to do. He's still growing, still learning, but pleased with where he is, and he'll continue to progress and get better.
Okay, I gotta address this real quick because I didn't see the conversation, but I don't know what Daniel said originally, but he said, "I just looked at the video again. Tank caught the ball and then bounced onto his head." Yeah, it was very unfortunate how that all went down, and hopefully it's not that bad of a concussion. The positive of that, assuming everything's going to be fine with Tank, the positive of that is that it had zero to do with his body size in the NFL. Like the ground in that stadium is not any harder than it was when they played the Peach Bowl on it or anything like that. So Tank could injure his head on the ground of any stadium in high school, college, or the NFL. It's so that's hopefully the silver lining, assuming everything else is fine with him and his concussion.
Damian is steady, right? Whatever he takes what he can get, he continues to work at it, and Damian's a hard worker, right? He's dialed into the process of continuing to get better with what we're asking him to do with the football, and he keeps after it, stay after it, and those runs will come, right? Explosive runs. He had some versus Jacksonville, versus Pittsburgh. They're there. You just have to continue to stay after. We continue to block it well, run it well, and it'll pop through for us. Sure.
I don't think things are being blocked all that well. I know there's instances where Damian could hit the hole harder, could identify earlier. Those are there, but there's also some instances of some really poor blocking. So I don't know if DeMeco's just trying to keep the heat off the offensive line because those guys are just in flux, and you've got young guys, you've got guys playing out of position, but not that many young guys anymore. You've only got one young guy out there. And yes, Titus Howard's playing left guard, but that's your guy's decision. But for whatever reason, I think maybe DeMeco just genuinely feels that Damian needs to make up for that and fix a lot of those issues himself by hitting the hole harder, seeing it better, running harder. But he continues to say that the offensive line is blocking well in the run game, and I don't see it. I don't see it. Okay, so he's asking about balancing running back Dameon Pierce's running style with the running style of this offense. I heard him say something about gap schemes, versus so gap schemes, the stuff that those of you who are 40 and older ran in high school versus the zone blocking schemes that many of you who are younger than 40 ran in high school.
Right. We're looking at all those things to where we can put our guys in the best position to be successful, right? And that's on us as coaches to make sure we're putting Damian in the best position with the runs that he runs really well, and we'll try to put him in those positions. So we're working at all those things this week.
Yeah, it's tough because like you can't run a modern NFL offense without running some zone runs, and Bobby Slowick's offense, Kyle Shanahan's offense, really Gary Kubiak's offense after Kyle Shanahan got here. There've always been it's been more than just zone running. Those offenses have tended to be really good at zone blocking, but long ago Kyle Shanahan realized that sometimes you just got to be able to power it up there. Sometimes you just got to be able to you got to be able to double team guys and drive straight ahead, whether it's leads, powers, counters, duo, whatever it might be. And so those might be the bread and butter for Damian, where you can make it nice and crisp and you can see the hole open up in front of you and hit it. But I don't think you can get completely away from zone blocking. So it's really a combination of just getting guys right more often on all those plays. Okay, so he's being asked about new cornerback Jason Verrett, who the Texans signed, and Jason Verrett has like a ridiculously long injury history. Sean Pendergast read it to me this morning. I believe it's 3 ACLs, 2 Achilles tendons, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Off the top of my head, I think in the last 5 years, there's only one season 2 years ago when he played more than just 2 or 3 games. Like he's been really, really banged up, but DeMeco's got a history with him.
It's nice adding Jason to the practice squad. I think he brings that veteran experience. Really, just an outstanding young man. First and foremost, just off the field. So it's great to have him in the building, just from how to do it. How does a professional do it, right? And that's what Jason brings to us. But also, just a very talented guy. He's had some ups and downs when it comes to the injuries, but when he's on and when he's healthy, right, he's probably one of the best corners that I've been around when it comes to playing sticky coverage, playing man coverage, smart player, can make plays on the football. So it's good to add him right to our practice squad and see what he can bring for us.
Okay, the defensive front has been very aggressive. How do you keep them from playing without jumping out of position? I don't know if I don't know. I think that's Sarge asking that question. I don't know if he's talking about within the during the play or pre-snap when everybody was jumping off sides, like almost every other play. It felt like for a little bit. Desmond Ridder apparently has the hardest hard count ever known to man. His hard count went to San Quentin.
Yeah, it's the undisciplined. That's unacceptable, right? Jumping off sides 4 times, unacceptable. Something we don't teach. We have to make sure we're keying the ball, have our eyes in the right spot. And for us to have that, 4 times, not something that we teach, and that's just unacceptable. And we've talked about that, and it has to be corrected.
As far as the defensive line's aggressive style of play and how it can get you out of position in the run game, man, those dudes played their asses off versus the run until the dam started to break a little bit there in the second half. But even then, I think partly some of the progress we're seeing out of the linebackers and the defensive line together is that it's hard for those linebackers to play when the scene is moving and shifting in front of them. We've got penetrating defensive linemen. Guys aren't always going to stay exactly in the B gap the way you expect them to, or in the A gap the way it's drawn up on the chalkboard. And because of that, those young linebackers, and now there's only one young guy back there as long as Christian Harris is injured. I think they've done a good job, Henry To'oto'a has, of anticipating that and understanding that. And that's why it started to look a little bit better. They need to get more consistent at it, but I'd like to see it translate into penetration as a pass rush also.
How much does Josh Jones' availability allow you to have more decisions to make on the offensive line?
He's being asked about Josh Jones' availability, impact. How does it impact the offensive line with Titus Howard's return? About him playing guard, I would guess.
Yeah, Titus, I thought Titus stepped in and did a really nice job for us, man. First time back and playing at guard now it's just been the mindset of our entire team. And what I love about Titus is there's no hesitation to step right in there, whatever we need, wherever we needed him to play. He was willing to step in and do that. That's just I love that about him. I love that about all of our guys. It really doesn't matter, right? Guys want to be out there and they want to help our team win. Doesn't matter what position you're playing. Doesn't matter how much time you're playing or when you get out there. The mentality for all our guys is, man, whatever I need to do to help our team win games, that's what I'll do.
Your team has one of the best turnover differentials in the NFL. Is that something you really focus on with your team?
Question about turnover differential. Is it a byproduct of playing fundamentally sound football?
It's a product of playing fundamentally sound football.
Yeah, turnovers is definitely an area where we focus. We spend a lot of attention on attacking the football defensively, and for our offense, is protecting the ball. And to see it show up in games has been really great. Starting with the offense and how they've done a great job. Talk about the quarterback spot first with CJ. Touches the ball every snap, and for him not to have any takeaways has been outstanding, right? For the way they protected the ball, not to give up a lot of fumbles. Like, that's where it starts, all the way protecting the ball. And then defensively, the way guys are swarming, the way guys are attacking the ball, it was awesome to see that on Sunday. Now we just have to make sure we're turning those turnovers, into points and getting points off of those takeaways. But I'm very, very pleased with how we've been protecting the ball offensively and attacking it on defense.
The swarm stuff has been cool to watch just from like a defensive lineman's perspective, because the nice thing about it is it erases so many mistakes. There's so many times where guys either miss a tackle or somebody's out of position, but as long as you've got all these guys rallying to the ball, it just it makes unsound defenses sound. Not that it's called unsound or anything, but when guys make those mistakes, you don't have to worry about it becoming as big a mistake as possible. And I say from a defensive lineman's perspective, because we really get off the hook in terms of, if a cornerback messes up, everybody knows it, and or at least everybody blames him because he's the closest to the ball, and everybody's going to know about it. Linebackers, they get to hide a little bit more, but if they miss a tackle, a lot of times it's where they could have stopped the first down, but they don't get it. Defensive linemen, if we screw up, there's usually at least one and usually two lines of defense behind you. So you're not usually the one that gets super blamed for it. It's not a bad gig, except for all the physical abuse part. And I want to fast forward, if we can, to what he had said about the sacks versus Atlanta, or lack thereof.
To step in and do that. That's just, I love that about him. I love that about all of our guys. It really doesn't matter, right? Guys want to be out there and they want to help our team win. Doesn't matter what position you're playing. Doesn't matter how much time you're playing or when you get out there.
Control F, and that was 2 questions ago. Do you guys know about Control F? Or on Apple, it's the little, it's Command F. Like, there's a Control F. No, it's Command F. So, like, if you're looking for something on a screen, I know a lot of you are going to be screaming at me like everybody knows this. I didn't learn it until like 2 years ago. Okay, so if you do either Command F or Control F, Command F on a Mac, Control F on a PC, and you're looking for the word love, you just do that, and then all the loves pop up, and you can scroll down to right where you are. So I'm looking at the transcripts, and I can find exactly where it was. So it helps as a sports radio host when your team is like mired down in the bottom third of various rankings and you don't want to scroll all the way down to read the blurb about your team. You just Control F Texans. It's getting less. My dream is that one day I'll be able to just open up an article and just scroll down a little bit because they're talking about the top 10 teams at the top, and I can just visually and manually find the Texans on there.
Yeah, Mechie has done well. I think he's still working his way back, right? First year really playing football after a long time, and it takes time to work yourself back. And he's doing a really good job with the things that we're asking him to do. You see him showing up, making plays on the over route in the game this past week, and we expect that to continue to improve, continue to show those type of plays that he can make. You see the hands. It was a tough catch that he made, but he has great hands, great speed. He's getting back into that football shape. It takes time, but happy where Mechie is for us.
Coach, if Tank and Robert aren't available for Sunday's game, will we see an increased snaps for Xavier Hutchinson?
We'll see. We'll see how that goes towards the end of the week to see who's out there. And
He's asked about increased snaps for Xavier Hutchinson. There's no way he's going to give that up. Let's see. My God, where's the answer that I wanted? All right, just one more.
so where he is, just as a player, as a leader for our team, he's right on track to where he needs to be.
We'll close it out with DJ and John.
The lack of sacks that happened in the Atlanta game, was that more product of Desmond Ritter really got the ball out?
Okay, here's the question about lack of sacks and if that was a testament to Desmond Ritter getting the ball out more quickly.
With the lack of sacks, I think it starts with, of course, the ball is coming out fairly quickly. Right, we have the rush and coverage always ties in together. Right, so we can be tighter in coverage to force the quarterback to hold the ball a little bit longer. In our rush, we have to continue to rush together. Right, 4 guys rushing together as one. We can execute our rush games better. We can play tighter coverage to allow us to disrupt the quarterback.
Yeah, and some of that too, like when they do run. So when you talk about games with the defensive line, that's when you're not blitzing. You just have the tackle in the end doing a stunt together. Sometimes you involve 3 guys, but it's not a blitz per se. The Texans do have a tendency to screw up the contain on that. So, like, if the defensive tackle is supposed to be coming outside the defensive end, he's got to be sure that he's containing the pocket, and vice versa. Just whenever whoever's supposed to be the contained looper, has got to do that. And they haven't done a great job of that. That could make a difference. The quick release times have hurt them somewhat in the actual sack stats. Somebody on there asked about Will Anderson getting double teamed. Yeah, there are times where they're chipping him or where they're slide protecting to him. I don't think it's quite the way they state it on those ESPN stats, because the one thing I've learned about those ESPN stats is when a defensive end slants down inside, like usually he's running into traffic and he's going to get touched by more than 2 hands. He's going to end up getting touched by 4 hands. I think they count that as a double team, which isn't the same as just genuinely committing extra bodies to a guy out on the edge. There have been a lot of instances where Will is he's getting locked up one-on-one on an offensive tackle, and it's not the tight end's fault, or it's not with a chip from the running back. It's not with a combo block from a tight end. And I talked about it on here a little bit earlier, but I think he's close to defeating that. Some of it is not genuine. He's not really genuinely committing to his speed rush. And I think there's times where he could continue to try to work around the edge where he doesn't, and he tries to counter back, but there's nothing to counter back into. Like the offensive tackle hasn't gotten drawn so far upfield that you can counter back. So all he's doing is countering back into a brick wall. And I think that's just a feel thing. He's conscientious of stopping the run, and that tends to take a little pepper out of guys' pass rush sometimes. So I'm not overly worried about it. I want to get to a few of these run plays I kind of selected at random, just so you can see if they're on here. All right, let's look at these. So let me get myself smaller here. They might go ahead and shut this down, but it's the price you pay for greatness. And this is, I hate doing these on this StreamYard app because it just doesn't work as well. But I just want to show a few.
Plays, it makes guys play a little bit harder for them. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. So, like right there, I mean, offensive lineman got beat. Tank Dell is just wrapped up immediately in the background. That wasn't a Damian Pierce not reading where the cutback was quickly enough. Like that was really bad. I believe that was the right tackle. There's some good plays on here too, and I randomly grabbed some of the ones right before we went on here just to give you an idea of the disjointedness of this rushing attack. So it's a toss to the left. I think this ends up being a good one. It's a nice picture there. Cut back there. This one, you remember the old one cut and go? This is one where I could say, all right, Damian took 3 steps to cut there. Like, you got to plant your foot in the ground and get up through that lane, and you'll see how quickly the lane closes. It just, that one could have been 5 yards if he had been more decisive and hit it faster. So like, that one's on Damian. Previous one was on an offensive lineman. This one, you got Tank Dell lined up in the backfield. I'm going to go with play calling on this, because when you can't get the other stuff right, I don't think you need to be messing with this stuff. This is just way too cute for their own good. So toss. I mean, immediately look at, my cursor's not going to work on here. Do you see Damian Pierce, Dalton Schultz, and somebody else? You got three dudes blocking one person right there, right in front of Damian Pierce, and yet then you got the fullback on 3 unblocked defenders. So what's the picture here? Like, what was the design of this play, and how the hell is this how they're blocking it? There's no chance. Now you got 4 guys. You've got 3 guys blocking 0 people. Then you've got 4 defenders against 1 blocker. No. Like, if Damian Pierce had been the running back there, it wouldn't have been any different. That's not going to be Damian Pierce's fault. Okay, this is another one. Okay, so this one I felt like Damian cut back behind the running, behind the blocking. And sometimes what you see 97 right there as his head in the hole. If Damian's reading that, there's some nuance to that in his zone scheme, and I'm not sure Damian's comfortable with it. It would help also if that guy had been blocked by Titus, but it wasn't. I mean, he backdoored Titus. Okay, this one, look at the fullback, who basically had to duck under the arm of the quarterback. So, look, something's off immediately right there. It's still, and then the fullback is going, he's trying to block the linebacker. You've got a wide receiver trying to block the safety, and that doesn't happen at all. Just a sloppy mess. Okay. It's like a counter tray. You've got 71 pulled coming up through. You've got a fullback behind him or an H-back behind him following the blocking. This ends up working. Like, he followed the blocking. That ended up working out well. You got both. Okay, this one, the guard and the tackle are both pulling. This is the one I was talking about earlier, where CJ is trying to hold this defensive end backside with the threat of the zone read, because everybody knows what a huge threat is with CJ running the zone read, right? Like, no, and it's not like a staple or a core of their defense. It doesn't hold the defensive end backside. He shuffles down the line, and yeah, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish there. Zone to the right, guys getting beat. Defensive end not held backside. That opens up the boot later potentially. It's just a mess. Again, that this rap lead where the fullback just doesn't. It seems like a catastrophe waiting to happen. This one ends up going like, good play call. I mean, look at the basic math of football is, do you have enough blockers for all of the defenders? And God, yeah, they do here. So that part's great. Look at the center here. I can't remember this play, but look at the right tackle, George Fant. Combined with so Shaq Mason, I don't know if he's where he's supposed to be or what George Fant thinks they're doing, but that guy's just scot-free. Oh, this is one we showed earlier. I added it in for good measure, apparently. Okay, this might be the one. Nope. This is the one Dalton Schultz didn't block anybody. And that guy's right there. So then you had to know. Okay, that was let's see. Is that the Tank Dell one? That was the Tank Dell one. I showed all those a few times. Sorry about that. Yeah, who's Shaq blocking? Howard on his ass. I don't want Tank in the backfield. I would love to. I would love to have a single answer to why the run game isn't good right now. But it's multiple things. It's multiple things that are really bad. And I do think it has to start, not to give the players an excuse, but it's got to start with some kind of simplification and getting rid of any of the razzle dazzle and the cute stuff with Tank Dell in the backfield. So I'm going to call it a day at that. It's 4 o'clock. I got to edit some stuff before dinner. Texans run blocking ranked 28th in the league. Okay, I won't call it in a day just yet. All starts with Slowick, and yeah, the run game coordinating. I think they've just the level of precision there is in the pass game with a rookie quarterback is not matched at all by the level of precision or attention to detail in the run game. I'd love to blame it all on physical mistakes, and there's some instances there where guys are getting physically beat, but there's also there's one play, there's a one back power where Titus Howard pulls, the defensive end is in front of him, and Titus playing left guard just kind of stands there like in a showdown with the defensive end who ends up tackling Damian Pierce. And I don't know. I don't even know what they're trying to accomplish. I'm hesitant to criticize the play because it looks so obvious and easy what the mistake is, and yet it's just not getting executed properly. So I don't know what's going on there. It could very much be fixed. Like right now, you always got to remember, if you're the absolute worst in the league at it, there's a really good chance that you can fix it with simplification and better execution because there's that many bad coaches and bad teams out there. So the fact that you've been okay in pass protection and yet can't run block to save your life, like hints that there's an execution issue that is a play calling and coaching issue. So you just got to get to mediocre, get to averaging more than 3 yards per carry. And then you've got something, then you can complement your passing game at least a little bit, but it's just, it's got to get better than that. Oh yeah. Also, we have the radio, Sports Radio 610 is live streaming now too. So if you go to just search Sports Radio 610 on YouTube, and we'll go to that. Do we have time? If we don't get shut down, look at that. It's a breathe right strip. Pulled off my breathe right strip too quickly this morning. If we have time, or if we don't get shut down, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to just watch the NFL.com preview that they have of let's see, Texans Saints, and do a little bit of a primer on the Saints game. There's a good chance that they'll shut down the stream because of this, but let's try it anyway. Let's just go out with a bang, and we'll all get primed for this. Okay, present, remove. Please bear with me for one moment. Share screen. No. Chrome tab. There we go. All right, you guys see that? Okay, tell me if you can hear it too. The sound seems to be where it ends up getting shut down on the live stream. But if it gets shut down, then we'll live to fight another day. That's right. You only live once. YouTube better chill with shutting down. Chill its tits. I haven't heard that in a long time. All right, here we go. Let's do this.
Houston Texans back at home this week. Some of the wind taken out of their sails by a sneaky good defense last week. Now they take on the New Orleans Saints, whose defense may be more than sneaky good.
Hit by Granderson, intercepted on the ricochet. That's Matthew for 6. It's a pick 6.
Saints are 3-2.
Tyrann Mathieu. Oh man, that's yeah.
Fully believe their defense can lead them to 4-2. It's a club holding opponents under 19 points per game in 2023. Fed Bill Belichick, a homer favorite week 5, held New England's quarterbacks to 132 yards passing, rating in the low 30s, no TDs, 2 picks.
Time to throw. Bobble deflected, and Warner, the linebacker, will vacuum in another turnover.
Oh,
They broke Mac Jones. They broke Mac Jones. They may have gotten ultimately, like, this might be the point at which Bob Kraft decided that he's definitely going to fire Bill Belichick. So it's a good look. He's not beating Tom Brady or anything, but this is a really good defense. This is an awesome challenge for CJ Stroud.
well, that's the Patriots. They can't pass, maybe can't even pass the 5th grade the way their offense is playing right now. Okay, but the Saints have held QBs overall to a mid-60s rating this season, only 5.6 yards per attempt, sub-60 completion percentage allowed.
Not only smell a win, but a shutout on the road, a rarity in the NFL.
All that
Hold on a second. Let's look at that again. I don't want to. I don't.
allowed.
Not only
What's he looking at?
smell a win, but a shutout.
He closed his eyes. You know, we bust on guys when they close their eyes before they tackle. Closing your eyes while you throw a football is a whole nother level.
Out on the road, a rarity in the NFL.
All that's especially relevant in this game because Houston's offense is a passing-driven affair. The face of the O, rookie quarterback CJ Stroud, who is making the doubters and haters eat crow, as they say.
He's been unbelievable. And now if I was in charge of the Players Association, there is no way any of my players would ever take a Wonderlic test again because it's completely unfair.
Okay, do you guys remember Mark Schlereth in that game when they came back in with a graphic about the S2 and Schlereth went off a rant about the Wonderlic, which is, I agree with him about the Wonderlic. I think the Wonderlic is stupid too. And I say that as somebody, I can say that with authenticity because I did well on the Wonderlic, and I would be the first to tell you I was a dumb football player in some ways. But the S2 isn't an intelligence test per se, but it is the test that he should have been talking about.
And this kid has just been awesome since early in this season.
I totally agree with that. Just wish I had someone defending me for not being able to pass any of my finals in high school. Stroud had a down week versus Atlanta. A down week for him is now 249 yards, a touchdown with no picks, over 7 yards per attempt, a high 80s rating. Kid has yet to throw an INT this season.
Stroud fakes the gift, throws back of the end zone, caught Nico Collins, touchdown, Houston.
I would say too, one thing positive about Stroud last week is that the patience is admirable. I mean, you saw Pat Mahomes last year or 2 years ago when they started 2 years ago, they started throwing all that cover 2 and just really trying to take the deep ball away from him. Remember, Pat Mahomes had to make that adjustment and just learn to take what the defense gives him. I feel like psychologically, CJ Stroud is already there. And I mean, the way he played that game, he played well enough to win the game. Yes, they left too much time on the clock at the end, whatever. If you had a rushing attack, maybe you could control something about that a little bit more. But that part was really encouraging. So, I don't think that was a backhanded compliment by these guys at all. It was an impressive game in some respects, even if it wasn't a winning effort or impressive statistically. Just the mindset and the understanding of biding your time and setting something up like they did with that Schultz pass, that was really cool.
CJ Stroud with more magic to the end zone.
What he was not able to do in their Week 5 loss, hook up big with either of his key wide receivers, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. One of the two was big in each of their first 4 games. The duo didn't crack 100 yards combined last week.
Oh, he missed it. He had Tank Dell right around the 35-yard line, but just threw it wide.
The cornerback trio they faced this week, Alontae Taylor, sub-90 rating allowed for the year, Paulson Adebo, sub-50, Marshawn Lattimore, low 60s.
Throws, have another pass breakup, this time by Marshawn Lattimore.
Saints pass rush, it has threats, 11 sacks in 5 games, pressure rate over 30.
Okay, I want to do something real quick, and it's look at the PFF ratings. Just because they have a cool graphic where it's I know PFF, but they kind of just, I've showed you guys this before, where they've got a nice little layout of exactly how they're let's see if we can do this. So you see, okay, is that sharing that or not? Tell me if it's sharing this. Did I get rid of you altogether? Ah, crap. There we go. So You look at their defense, like the deep green is good. Cam Jordan, Granderson, the defensive end. Their linebackers are all good except their Bond character. The one safety comes back. That's their guy. The Mayo is the guy that's just coming back. The defensive backs, like that's a stout defense. They've got more weaknesses potentially offensively, but it's just a very solid football team.
That's solid, at least. Carl Granderson, a sack versus New England, has 3.5. He's their leader.
Here they come. Granderson gets him.
Stroud is not an easy guy to sack, though. None taken last week. Got his starting left tackle back, too. Laramie Tunsil returned. No sacks taken 3 straight games now.
And he throws it low. It's scooped off the turf by Tank Dell.
Texans still waiting for 2022 Dameon Pierce to make an appearance. 5 games in a row now under 3.6 yards per carry. Unlikely DeMario Davis and company allow him to break out. Saints have held running backs to 3.5 per run.
Stevenson wrapped up and swallowed.
All right, so big matchup there. I'm taking notes. Sometimes I overly complicate things. We did that pregame show on Sports Radio 610 for the 3 hours leading up to the game. And sometimes like I do all these deep dives and forget that it's as simple as, oh, wow, the Texans rush defense is awful and the Saints rush defense is really good. So the rush offense versus the rush defense, not a good matchup. They're going to play coverage the same way that the Saints did last week. And it's going to be up to CJ Stroud to throw into some tight windows as he did last week. This is going to be a really good challenge for CJ.
By Granderson.
New Orleans' own run game is big in this matchup. With Alvin Kamara back in the fold and with a lead to work with, New Orleans ran 42 times last week. Kamara 22 runs, and he scored.
Kamara in, slicing for 6.
Saints' rush attack versus New England wasn't all that efficient. Kamara was 3.6 a run. Team was 3.2. Houston just faced Bijan Robinson in the Falcons' run-first offense, held Robinson to 3.3 a carry, the Falcons to 2.7, holding running backs to 3.7 a run for the season.
He gets the call on the first play, but that Texans defense is up to the challenge.
What the Texans didn't do well last week was stop the pass. 0 sacks on Desmond Ridder, who is usually bagged up by old ladies looking for deals on asparagus. In turn, they let him put up a career game, over 300.
That's true. That part of it is undersold, that Desmond Ridder takes a lot of sacks. That part of it, the fact that I keep vacillating on just wanting to give the defense credit for letting up as few points as they did until that final drive. And Ridder did have to throw into some tight windows, but the tighter windows and some of the better throws, he still did it with relative comfort. The pass rush just... this defense playing the way that they want to play, they need a better pass rush. And if they're going to be able to do it without blitzing, like that's what they tried to do last week. They tried to do it without blitzing. Somebody's got to get home faster. Like somebody's got to get clean at the snap and win quick if you want to help these guys out.
125 yards, close to 9 yards per attempt, a rating over 110, no INTs. This wasn't a guy who was lighting up the skies prior to facing them.
Ridder unloads and throws a really nice ball complete inside the 40.
The biggest culprit last week, safety Jalen Petrie, got tagged with giving up 95 yards.
Ooh.
Now they try and rebound versus Derek Carr. Even though the Texans don't have a lot of sacks, Carr should expect pressure. Houston still has a sub-20 blitz rate, pressure rate near 40, one of the widest gaps in the league.
Pickett feels the pressure. Pickett set.
That's the tricky one where they've gotten pressure. And again, the pass rush stats are all over the place with various different services, but they've gotten pressure on quarterbacks, but without getting the quarterback down. They're very low in total sacks, but they do get pressure. So is that partly guys being open downfield, quarterbacks getting rid of the ball quickly? I think there have been some missed sacks and missed tackles on sacks. The Texans are still very high in total missed tackles, but they've done it without blitzing. So that's the positive sign, at least. When they're banged up in the secondary, they've been able to generate a pass rush, like some semblance of a pass rush in many games with only 4 guys. It's just, if they want to be a genuinely good defense, it's got to be with a better pass rush than it's been. So it's just got to be amped up one notch this year, if that's what it's going to be. You know, we can talk long-term future in the future.
Texans with just 7 sacks. Too many Happy Gilmore putts. How does it play out versus New Orleans line? Saints have given up 17 sacks in 5 games. Teams don't like being over 2 per game usually. Carr has taken at least 2 per.
Okay.
He's hitting the backfield and sacked. Fumble football.
Derek took 2 versus New England, but was only hit twice, and that made a difference. He'd take it again. Only 183 yards, but a rating near 115, 2 touchdowns, no picks last week.
Carr to the end zone. Touchdown. That's caught by Olave.
The more we get into the season, the more it seems like New Orleans' passing offense is a committee approach. Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Alvin Kamara now. Kendre Miller had 50-plus yards last week. It could be anyone.
What an amazing catch by Chris Olave.
Tricky game to figure out, expecting lots of division from our picks panel. Expect lots of picks from you guys in the comment section as well. I also expect you to sign up for NFL Plus if you want to watch live games, NFL.
Sign up for NFL. You know what? I've been one of NFL Plus's biggest critics this preseason. They were driving me insane because the Game Pass was just not working well. But they've gotten their crap together, and so far it's actually been pretty good. The All 22 comes out way earlier than it used to, so I will, since I just played their content.
Back CJ Stroud.
I will also encourage you to go watch those guys. All right, now I'm leaving. Daniel Bartlett. Oh no, did I go? Oh, they got us just in time. Okay. All right, guys. I guess I was shut down. Some of you are still here, but to everybody else, I was shut down. My wife's making bacon anyway. I was having a hard time concentrating. I'm gonna go eat bacon.